On January 11, 1999, her husband found her lying in a pool of blood in their master bedroom closet. He immediately called the police. At that time, Belinda Temple was 8 months pregnant with their baby girl. Belinda had suffered a fatal gunshot wound to the back of her head. She was fully clothed, indicating no signs of a struggle or robbery. In 2004, 6 years after Belinda's death, the culprit was arrested and charged with her murder. Who was David Temple and Belinda Temple? Why was Belinda killed? Who was the culprit? This is your partner in crime stories. Subscribe, and let's move along this mysterious journey ahead. David was an amazing football player. He led KD High School's team to victory in 1986, and everyone loved him in KD. He was so good that people outside of KD knew about him too. He decided to go to Stephen F. Austin State University to keep playing football and study more. In 1990, David got a full scholarship to play football at Stephen F. Austin State University, and he was super excited. He was amazing on the field, so people started calling him the Temple of Doom. While there, he met Belinda Lucas, who was studying physical education and helped out with the football team. David and Belinda fell in love fast. Belinda was a beautiful blonde, and David was smitten from the start. He always wanted to be with her, leaving sweet notes on her car and surprising her with roses. After 11 months together, David decided it was time to take things to the next level. David wanted to marry Belinda, so he asked her parents for permission, and they were thrilled. Then, David planned the most romantic proposal. He took Belinda to the football field, and as they walked to the middle, you could feel the excitement. David got down on one knee and asked Belinda to marry him. Belinda said yes to David's proposal, and they got married in 1992. They had a small wedding with their close friends and family. After that, they decided to live in Katy, Texas. Belinda became a teacher at KD High School, where David went to school. David became a coach and teacher at AAF Hastings High School. After 3 years of marriage, Belinda and David welcomed their son Evan, and they were over the moon. David was said to be a great husband, always there for Belinda, but some people saw things differently. They thought David controlled Belinda too much, which made them worried about their relationship. People heard David saying mean things about Belinda's body and how she took care of their son and their home. Belinda's twin sister, who spent time with them during the holidays, heard David making jokes about Belinda's looks. Some friends also said David called Belinda fat and ugly and said bad things about her family, calling them names like crazy white trash. It seemed like he was being mean to Belinda and her family. Even when Belinda spent time with her family, David seemed mad about her not losing the weight she gained during her pregnancy. He didn't like that she didn't look like she used to. But despite his bad behavior, people thought he loved their son and was a good dad to him. As time passed, David started to drift away from Belinda. Then, he went to his high school reunion and ran into an old girlfriend. The next day, he told a friend that he hooked up with her. During the reunion, David started hanging out away from home more. He'd tell Belinda he was out with his football buddies, but he was going to strip clubs, hooking up with other women. Belinda felt something was wrong in their marriage as she stayed home with their son. She confided in someone, wondering what was going on with David. Belinda's friends thought David might be cheating, but she didn't want to believe it. She figured there had to be a good reason for him being away so much. But when she looked at their credit card bills, she got worried. There were lots of charges from strip clubs, which made her wonder what David was up to. She decided to ask him about it. David made up weak excuses, but Belinda reluctantly believed him. Then, he said he didn't want to share a bank account with her anymore and got his credit card. Belinda felt even more worried and distant from him. By the summer of 1998, they were fighting a lot and hardly talking, which made things even worse between them. One night, Belinda talked to David about their problems. She asked if he still loved her, and David said he didn't know. But by the next morning, he changed his mind and told Belinda he did love her. She was really happy to hear that. By January 1999, it seemed like they fixed things. Belinda found out she was pregnant again, and they were excited to learn they were having a baby girl. On January 11, 1999, Belinda was 8 months pregnant with their baby girl, and their son, Evan, was 4 years old. Everything started like a normal day. Belinda was teaching at Katy High School when she got a call from Evan's daycare, saying he had a fever and needed to be picked up. Belinda went to get him and brought him home. David came home later. Half an hour later, Belinda had to go back to work for an important meeting she couldn't miss. The meeting went on until about 3:30 p.m., and then she came home. About 15 minutes after Belinda got home, she looked really tired. Evan's fever had gone down by then, so David thought he'd take him out for a bit to give Belinda a break. They left around 4 p.m. and went to a nearby park. But they didn't stay there long. David decided to go to a bigger park a few miles away. On the way, they stopped at a Brookshire Brothers grocery store so David could buy a drink for Evan and some cat food. When David got to the store, it was already past 4:30 p.m. So he decided not to go to the bigger park and just head back home. On the way, he stopped at Home Depot to get some brackets for the baby's nursery shelves. The security cameras at the store saw David and his son going in. They got back home around 5:30 p.m. But when David walked up to the back door, he saw it was partly open and there was broken glass everywhere. That made him think the house might have been robbed. David acted fast. He grabbed his son and ran to the neighbor's house, banging on the door and yelling to let him in. The neighbor heard the noise and came quickly. David gave his son to the neighbor and asked them to call 911 right away because it looked like his house had been robbed. Worried about Belinda, David rushed back home. He shouted Belinda's name as he ran inside, his voice full of concern. He went upstairs to the master bedroom and headed to the closet. On January 11, 1999, tragedy struck when Belinda, 8 months pregnant with her second child, was found dead in her home. David Temple, her husband, found her lying in a pool of blood in their master bedroom closet. He immediately called the police, who arrived at a scene barricaded by the couple's aggressive dog. David, distressed and hopeless, informed the officers of his wife's fate and cooperated by securing the dog, allowing them entry. Belinda had suffered a fatal gunshot wound to the back of her head. She was fully clothed, indicating no signs of a struggle or robbery. Initial suspicion fell on David due to inconsistencies in his behavior during questioning. He initially denied any knowledge of the incident, but later implicated their teenage neighbor, Riley Sanders, as a possible suspect. However, investigations into Riley's involvement yielded no special evidence. Meanwhile, scrutiny strengthened on David when it was revealed he had engaged in an extramarital affair with a colleague, Heather Scott. Though David denied any role in his wife's murder, the affair raised suspicions about his motives. Forensic analysis of the crime scene revealed a staged burglary, suggesting a targeted attack on Belinda and her unborn child. Despite lacking direct evidence, prosecutors revisited the case, drawing similarities to Scott Peterson's conviction for the murder of his pregnant wife in California. In 2004, 6 years after Belinda's death, David was arrested and charged with her murder. His defense attempted to shift blame onto Riley Sanders, but evidence pointed towards David's guilt. He was convicted in 2007, but later granted a retrial due to prosecutorial misconduct. In 2019, David was once again found guilty of Belinda's murder, yet a sentencing deadlock led to a mistrial. Finally, in 2003, after delays caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, David was sentenced to life in prison. Belinda's tragic death, initially shrouded in mystery, ultimately resulted in justice being served for her and her unborn child. What do you think about this case? Stay tuned. We'll catch you with a new nail-biting crime thriller tomorrow.